Hi, my name is Amanda Bell. I'm the owner of Bend and Zen Hot Yoga Nashville, located in the L&L Market on Charlotte Avenue. So today we're going to be doing a few yoga postures that are really centered around people who are a lot maybe stagnant or sitting in seats a lot. So we're going to be opening up our chest and our hips and really getting into some deep postures to begin to open up things that we will generally be closing throughout the day, like rounded shoulders while sitting and typing, and compressed hip flexors when you're sitting in a chair. So these postures may feel a little uncomfortable or a little stiff initially, but the more you stick with it, the consistency that you give to these shapes will make it even better and better. So today we are going to be focusing on the first posture, which is a seated side stretch. This can also be done in a chair. So it's a pretty basic posture, and it's responsible for moving into a lateral shape. And when we move into our lateral shape, we're not only stretching the obliques, but also the QL. So if you ever have low back issues, a lot of times on the right or the left of the spine, a lot of times when you feel that pull and you can't stand up straight, it's that QL that's really been probably overworked. So by moving laterally, because the QL is responsible for flexion of the spine and trunk rotation. So we're going to start to move to the side, and I always like to start with a big inhale, lifting your rib cage up just to create space for your spine. And then you exhale, place your hand to the floor and just give yourself a gentle side stretch. Now what will often happen is your hip will come off the ground. So see if you can ground your hip to the floor and think about 2 points pulling away from one another, one grounding and one extending. So the more you reach away, the more you have to press down. Now if you're looking to maybe go a little bit deeper, you're going to start to square the shoulder down and maybe drop the arm in front of the knee. And this is going to hit a really deep part of your low back. So what I would recommend is staying in this shape for, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 breaths, visualizing every time you inhale, you find length, and every time you go into a deeper shape, you exhale. So inhale for length and exhale for depth. All right, and then make sure you do both sides. Inhale, arms up. Right hand to the ground. You could even play around with coming to the forearm. That's also a deeper expression, but just make sure again that hip doesn't come up. So when you inhale, find that length, lengthening the spine, and as you exhale, your hands can go wherever you need them to go. Now the other shape that I think is really beneficial, especially if you sit around, or not sit around, but sit down a lot, we call it whale posture. And it's great for expanding the chest, preventing frozen shoulder syndrome, or any rounded shoulders, and there's lots of ways you can do it. So I want you to think about as the arm like the letter T, all right? So from here, it's going to be less intense, and the more you bend the elbow, the more intense this shape is going to be. So you're probably going to have to figure out which version works best for you. So the best place to do this is anywhere on the ground where you have space. A lot of times cats and dogs will want to participate too, so just kind of have a little fun with it. When you come into your whale pose, extend an arm out. Actually, I'll extend the other arm out straight, and remember you can cactus it. Opposite leg bends, look away from the leg, and then roll towards your extended arm. Head can come to the ground. And again, staying here for about 3 to 5 breaths. And if you come out of it and you're like, that wasn't enough for me, then I recommend bending the elbow just a little bit more, working into a place, but no more than a 90-degree angle. So make sure you stay at that 90 degree. All right, and then when you make sure you do the right side, you flip over to the left side, find that bend, recognizing that the left and the right side are often very different, all right? They're almost like cousins. They're related but not. So just give yourself a little bit of grace. If you have an injury or a tension or tightness on one side more than the other side, that's your body just being human. So give it a try, and if you've got any questions, reach out. All right, so the way that the world is working right now is a lot of us are working remotely, which means we probably sit down a lot. So we want to try to counter some of those stretches. So the next 3 things I'm going to show you, 2 in the chair, 1 is going to go on the wall, are really going to begin to counter some of the things you do regularly every single day. So the first one is just a kind of a really nice stretch. It's a figure 4. You want to make sure that this bony part on the outside of your ankle is kind of on the outside of your quadricep, okay? And so you have this kind of triangle between your knee and your inner thigh and your pelvis. So finding that flexion of your foot or your extension of the foot, pull your toes towards your shin, and then you can just start to sit up straight. And that may be enough for you. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more, then you're going to take both hands onto the top and begin to tilt your body weight forward. So when we tilt our body weight forward, think of your pelvis as a bowl, right? So when we tilt forward, we find this anterior pelvic tilt. So you're going to tilt your pelvis forward, lead with your chest, and then gently encourage your knee to go down. What you try not to do is go in a rounded shape, okay? So slide your shoulders down your back, and as you tilt forward, you're going to feel this intense stretch on the outside of your hip where your medial glute is. So press into the grounded foot. Again, inhale to find length, and exhale, you can find depth. All right, so I would recommend doing that, again, 5 to 10 breaths as many times in the day as you can. Set a timer on your phone, counter those shapes, those muscles that really get tight. Now, another thing that you can do is just a seated twist. So much like we did earlier, reach your arms up as you breathe in, feeling length along the side body. And then as you exhale, hand can go to the knee, and the other hand can go to the back of the chair. And you're going to use your hands on the outer knee in the chair to find leverage. So when you lift up, it's really easy to just move the head and the shoulders, but where your ribs are connected, it's in your thoracic spine, and that is the least mobile part of your spine, and that's the part we want to move. So when you sit up, crown of your head up, and visualize your back rib cage, your right rib cage, twisting to the back of the room, and then that's how you're going to kind of feel that deep stretch in your thoracic spine, and then begin to complete it by looking over your shoulder to complete that cervical twist. And make sure you always do both sides, so find length as you breathe in. Right hand to the outside of the knee, left hand can go to the chair for leverage, sit tall, breathe in, revolve your left rib cage back, and really focus on pressing into this front arm, completing that cervical twist by looking over your shoulder. So by combining those two things, we're adding a lot of kind of movement to the spine when normally we're just rounded over. So try to get as many twists and figure fours in your day, and I promise at the end of the week you will probably have better posture and be taller. All right, so the last one I'm going to show you is, can be a little challenging to get into, but it's worth your time, trust me, okay? So this is, in my opinion, one of the best stretches to open up the hip flexors. And like I said, when we sit a lot, we often will compress our hip flexors, and our hip flexors actually shorten. So a lot of times, if you work at a front desk, or any desk, and your hip flexors are shortened, again, finding that anterior pelvic tilt, and that's when you notice people kind of having that C shape of their spine. So what we want to do is we're trying to open the hip flexors to begin to open the rest of the body. One of the best ways, in my opinion, to do this is come to a wall. And I would recommend putting a towel underneath the leg that you're going to bring back. So come into a tabletop, and you're going to walk one knee back. So you essentially want to try to get almost the entire shin against the wall, and then you're going to bring the other foot forward. Now, that may not work for you, so get creative on how you get into this shape. Now you can stay here, you could even put like books on the ground and push yourself away and just basically bring the floor up to you. If you want to take it to a really deep expression, one hand comes to the knee, find that lift of the chest, and then the other hand comes to the knee. And then again, like I've been talking this whole time, find lift to find find extension. And then as you exhale, drive your shin bone forward. And you're going to notice this entire chain reaction coming from the quadricep all the way up to the hip flexors, all the way up to the abdominals, and then you get that beautiful arch of the spine. And this is going to be really intense, so make sure maybe you take a little walk or, I don't know, walk downstairs and go upstairs, warm up the hip flexors. I would not recommend going into this posture cold. So the progressions here are just bringing your hands to the floor and lift your chest, putting your hands on books or yoga blocks, and then eventually bringing your hands up, lifting the chest to the sky. Now it's okay, it's not wrong if the knee goes past the toes. Anatomically, our knees go past our toes, but essentially what you maybe work towards just for structural integrity, bringing your knee over your ankle, and then that's gonna help you feel balanced a little bit more. So again, 3 to 5 breaths each side. Maybe you do this at the end of your workday, maybe you do it at the beginning, totally up to you. And then the fun part is getting out of the posture, being creative with it. Push your booty back, bring your shin bone to the floor. And what I would recommend is maybe coming to a seated meditation, because that is a big move. So you're going from a complete extension to complete flexion when you sit down. So just give yourself a little bit of grace when you try that shape. And again, I promise it will help with low back issues, it'll help with posture, and overall, it'll just make you structurally better.